Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to the Real Short Box Live. My name is Donald. Right below me is Kevin. Over here is Darren, and then right beside me is our special guest star, David. Say hello, David.
Hey, everybody.
David is with us here. He's a very big sports enthusiast, so we're going to have him on. I'm going to do the intro, play that in, and then we are going to talk a little bit, I think, about some of the films that didn't make it, as well as a particular film that we just had to give reference to for each of us. You know, one special film that just gets an honorable mention. So we're going to do that here in a moment. I'm going to play the video intro, and then we're going to get started. All right, so we're going to be talking about here films that didn't make it first, and then we're going to talk about ones that kind of got away. So we're going to be doing that in a moment here. I'm going to hand the reins over to these gentlemen. They're going to talk about that while I do some stuff in the background, and then we're going to get started.
I think I'm going to throw a slight curveball here real quick to Dave and Kevin. Just curious. Kevin, briefly, what sports did you play growing up?
Played football, basketball, volleyball. How about you?
I did it all: soccer, football, basketball, track and field, wrestling, you name it. How about you, Dave?
My two primary sports when I got older were football and track, which kind of tend to go hand in hand together. But, a little bit of everything when I was younger: baseball, golf as I got older. And, as most old guys are, golf is pretty much taken over as the current sport of choice.
So real quick, David, since you're joining us here for the first time, was there a movie you really badly wanted to put on your list, but it just couldn't crack your top 10?
Yeah, sure. In fact, it's funny that you'd mention that because it's a movie that I expect to see, potentially on some of your lists. I don't know that for sure, but I would guess. For me, I want to give a little shout out to the movie Rocky. I'm just going to throw it out there right off the bat. It's not on my list. And I know that is, potentially controversial. And, for me, simply put, it's just I tend to have a little bit of a darker side to me in my movies, if you will. I like a movie that's heavy. Rocky's great, and that's why I wanted to, at least mention it. But with that being said, for me, at times it was just a little fluffy. He faced adversity, sure, but I never quite felt like he was really going through a huge struggle or grind, if you will. So it's not really in the caliber of my top list, but still worth a mention for the performance by Sly Stone and some of the other people in that movie.
How about you, Kev?
Let's talk about this one. I really like this one. Early 90s movie called Mr. Baseball with Tom Selleck.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's a great one, Kevin. Very good choice.
Yeah.
I love Mr. Baseball. He he doesn't get quite the deal he wants, so he goes over to Japan to play baseball and thinks it's kind of a joke at first, and then learns, oh no, they're the real deal over there, and he needs to step up his game, and it's really fun. I love that one.
Yeah, it's a fun movie.
Very good choice.
Yeah, it's a very underrated. A lot of people have forgotten about that movie over the years, unfortunately.
And he couldn't hit a shuto.
Guys, I posted the link, so feel free to take it off my Facebook page and share with everybody that you know.
Okay. I got you, David.
All right, I'm going to toss one in the ringer here, too. I'm going to say the movie that just barely missed my list, and I mean literally it's like right at number 11, is Seabiscuit. I think Seabiscuit is... What kind of kept me from putting it on, it's a little less about sports than I would like it to be. It's a lot more about the human interest drama. It's a little imbalanced in that sense. But I really love these period pieces. I love the wardrobe, the scenery, the acting performances. Jeff Bridges and Chris Cooper are just phenomenal in this. And, of course, it's an ode, as David would know better than anybody, to my dad, Mr. Manel, who is a huge horse racing guy. and this is easily his favorite horse racing movie.
Yeah, Seabiscuit's a lot of fun. It's also Maria's favorite. She really likes that one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's a house favorite, in other words, to a lot of people. Racing horses is a sport. It is. It's just like racing cars, I guess.
You know how hard it is to make weight, Donald?
What's that?
Yeah, that's true.
Make weight.
Yeah, those guys starve themselves too, I hear, those equestrians.
They're like 120 pounds riding that horse.
Wow.
And that's the movie that Tobey Maguire made in between the first two Spider-Man movies, interestingly enough.
Yep. And after Pleasantville, which was amazing. Let's be honest.
Now,
I want to bring up one. It's my honorable mention that did not make it. And this is for my sister, Stephanie. It didn't quite make it, and everybody will understand why I think it did not make it. But we're talking Dirty Dancing. Patrick Swayze, Jennifer Grey. Dancing is a competition in this. It is a sport, essentially, in this. It's not a sport in the entirety of what you would think within the realm-wise, but it's there. There's a lot of competition that's involved in this and a lot of practice. And my sister tormented me with this movie. Played it every day for what felt like 15 years. And I never wanted to see it again. And I didn't watch it for the longest time. But then they did the Movies That Made Us special on Netflix. And they did one about Dirty Dancing. And you realize how this film almost didn't get made and how crazy the cast had to be in order to get everything done. And if you haven't seen that on Netflix, I highly recommend it. It's a really cool episode, and it's a really good. It is, Stephanie. It's a really good movie. Okay, I hope you're happy. It's a really good movie. I enjoy it now as an adult, but I've taken a lot of time away from it. It is an enjoyable, fun film, so it's recommended. It didn't make my top 10, but it was just on the cusp. Dirty Dancing, everybody.
Oh, respect to that, Donald. I'll never forget the scene, of course, where she jumps, into his arms. That's definitely a legendary scene.
Kevin and I actually reenacted that at a Comic-Con once. I was dressed as Blue Beetle, and he was dressed as Black Licorice. I don't know if anybody knows this, but I created a web series called The Blue Beetle Ted Cord Returns, and in this web series, Kevin plays a villain. Darren also plays a villain. He plays Maxwell Lord. But Kevin, at this time, he plays a sidekick, kind of a superhero that is called Black Licorice. And I ran to him in this hall. I think it was at WonderCon or something, and he grabbed me and just held me in the air. And I just was graceful as a gazelle, and then he spun me around. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful moment, Kevin. Thank you for that.
Yes, I'm sure you're wearing one of those ballet dresses when you did it too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't get past the Swayze mullet personally. It doesn't fit the '60s. Come on, bruh.
You're right. Bonnie says hello. Hey, Bonnie. Nice to see you.
What's up, Bonnie?
Thanks for popping in. So, Kevin, you want to give a quick introduction, and then Darren, you want to tell everybody what this is all about? We've gone through everybody's films, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So let's get started on that.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Real Short Box. Let me just quickly introduce the panel here. First, he is the man from Youngstown, Ohio. He is the debonair of modern-day masculinity. He is Darren. Next, he is the chairman and CEO of the Real Short Box. He is dedicated to being DC Comics for life. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the original Donald. And last but not least, our special guest today. He is a man who represents Northern California, a man who is a master of solar panels. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for our special guest, Mr. David Denenberg.
Nice to have you on, David.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. And of course, I am your Supreme Chancellor, Dr. Kevin.
Oh, Dr. Kevin. Hey, I've got this rash, Dr. Kevin. Do you think Never mind. We'll talk later.
Whoa, okay.
Katie says hello, everybody. Say hi to Katie real quick. Hey, Katie.
What's up, Katie?
Howdy. All right, folks. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We are going to each be presenting a list of top 10 sports movies that we are feeling about. This podcast is going to be fast, it's going to be furious, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So why did we choose this topic? When you're growing up, everyone wants to look up to a hero. Some are in comic books, on the big screen, or your television set. Others in novels, your home, or even in a classroom. But tonight, we want to talk about heroes in the field of play, athletes, coaches, and in some cases, legends. Sporting events and those who participate in them are not really just their own culture, but pop culture as well. In fact, 29 of the 30 highest rated broadcasts in television history are sporting events. Famous athletes have graced the screen in movies and television, such as the show Webster. Movies like Space Jam, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, The Longest Yard, and There's Something About Mary. Athletes are larger than life, so large that even Superman squared off with the greatest, who could float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. Other times, athletes in sporting events change the course of history, such as an Olympic sprinter from Cleveland infuriating the Third Reich in the 1936 Olympics, or a baseball player known in Chavez Ravine as number 42, breaking historic barriers by starting at first base on April 15, 1947. Athletes are our history as well as our culture, which brings me to a few films we will be counting down tonight. A shining city on a hill squares off against an evil empire. Strike first, strike hard. Come on, you're not being the ball, Danny. You want to show us the money? You want to go the distance? To win one for the Gipper, then for a moment, go just a bit outside and support who we are, not who we are not. If milking cows is your thing, just know that we don't have a cow, but we do have a bull. On our countdown, we will show you Titans, show you why Kane is able, and why the real short box believes in heroes. There goes my hero. Watch him as he goes.
Well done, sir. Thank you, and thank you everybody that's joining us right now and tuning in. We are the Real Short Box. We are live. We are talking about our top 10 sports films, as you can see on the screen, and we are going to get started here in just a minute. Anybody in the chat section that wants to quickly mention one of their, like a sports film that they love but wouldn't quite make their top 10, if they want to throw that out, please do so in the chats now. Otherwise, we're going to get started in just a moment. I want to take a brief moment to just mention that Kevin looks like he's about to get into something that he shouldn't, right in between the fists of Sylvester Stallone and Mr. T. So does not look like a good situation for you, Darren. It looks like you're going to get caught in some form of a net. And David, you're in the back of a truck palling around with some dudes, man. That looks like you're about to go play some football and drink some beers. So can't be in a better spot than you, I don't think.
Just throwing out with James Vanderbeek, no biggie.
Yeah, huh? Sammy's here. She says, haha, nice. Hey, guys. Hey, Sammy, thanks for joining. Chris Turner.
What's up, Sammy?
Chris Turner's popped in. He says, basketball.
I love basketball.
I think that's a great choice, Chris, and you'll see why later. Also, Rafael Juarez says the Basketball Diaries. So that's also a really good choice.
Now, that's up your alley, David.
Yeah, absolutely. I did consider that movie. It's very, very excellent. And there's some other basketball movies as well that, we'll see if we get a chance to talk about some of them. Hopefully some of them pop up.
Bonnie says Ladybugs. I love it, but probably not in my top 10. That's a really good one. In fact, surprisingly, Rodney Dangerfield is in several sports films, one of them being Ladybugs and the other one being the film where he goes back to school, which is called
Triple Lindy.
Yeah. It's the diving competition sport, which is part of what we're talking about here. Jared says, I do not want your life. I'm assuming he's referencing James Vanderbeek in Varsity Blues. And we'll probably mention that film. I don't know. Maybe. It might get mentioned. Who knows? But we're going to go ahead and get started. Let's start off We're going to start off with number 10 on our list of our top 10 films and sports. And why don't we go clockwise, starting with the guest. We're going to go with David and let you mention your favorite number. Or actually, I can go first. I'll go first. I never go first. I'll go first. I'm going to go first. Taking it away from you, David. I'm sorry. I'm going to go first, and I'm going to mention one of my favorite films in the number 10 in my top 10. So number 10 on my list, I'm going to bring it up here. And that is Fighting with My Family. Now, those that do not know what this film is, it came out last year. I think in February? Yeah, it says right there on the screen. February 27th, 2020, this film came out. So it's one of the last films I actually got to see in the theater before it came out. Or before we couldn't come out, in other words. But this one stars Paige, who plays the character Paige, and The Rock, Lena Headey, Nick Frost, and Jack Lowden plays Zach Knight. Now, Nick Frost plays Patrick, who is Paige's father, and Zach Lowden plays her brother, Zach, and Lena's plays the mother. And Paige is... she wants to be, her and her brother, Jack, both want to be wrestlers. That's something they've wanted to do their whole lives. Like, they've planned for this, and they're to the point now where they feel that they're strong enough, they're old enough, they can audition. The WWE is coming to their town for auditions. They're ready to rock and roll. So they both go to this, they both audition. Zach gets told a firm no, but then they say, you know what, Paige, we need to talk to you. We like the cut of your jib. We like the way you fight, young lady, and we think you would do great in the ring with us. So there's some hard feelings, of course, with her brother, and she decides to go ahead anyway and start wrestling and learning. She gets into a training squad with a bunch of other girls to learn how to wrestle in the WWE and stuff. And it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of camaraderie. And there's a lot of drama, too, within the family and with her brother and stuff like that. And her, not quite sure if she's good enough to make it. It's a very strong female-led film with a lot of quirky characters to back her up, and a very strong cast overall. And The Rock, he's barely in it, I'm going to be honest, but he does his part, and I think bringing his name to this film brought a lot of clout to it and brought it on the radar to a lot of people, and that's good because it is a really good story, really heartwarming story. Highly recommend it, Fighting with My Family. And that's my number 10. Real quickly, Sammy says, haven't seen it yet, but I love Florence Pugh. She's in the Black Widow movie. Is it Pug or Pug? It's Pug. Pug? I don't know how to spell last names, right?
We'll just say
or state them.
Puig? Poog?
Poogie Bear. And Midsummer, apparently. Shay Kornfeld says, great movie, love the wrestling story grind. Shay, thank you for joining us. I don't think I've seen you on here before, so thanks for being a viewer on The Real Short Box. Bonnie says, such a solid movie, and Raphael says, don't forget Vince Vaughn. You are correct. Vince Vaughn is also in there. He's the guy that gives her the shot, and he's the guy that thinks she has potential and says hell no to Jack, her brother. So Vince Vaughn's also in that, and he does a really good job also. So thank you for bringing that out, Raphael. And Rob, thank you. We're going to go to the next film, though. David, you're number 10?
Okay. So I'm going to kick off my list with an all-time great, a movie that I would expect that, if some of the viewers were in the same position, would have on their list as well. And that's The Sandlot. Okay. Oh. Yep, The Sandlot is already making its first appearance very early. This movie, it's an all-time great, specifically to sports movies. And I think part of what makes Sandlot so great is that, a lot of us grew up playing some sort of pickup game, whether it was at school or in the neighborhood. We just have a lot of really good memories of, these backyard games, if you will. So right off the bat, it's a very relatable movie. I think we can all, in some form, relate to it. We get to know the main character, Scott Smalls, who who moves from out of town. So he's already got kind of the dynamic of being the new kid, and got some. I want to say, if I'm remembering right, he's got his stepdad. So his relationship with the stepdad is obviously a little bit rocky at times. So we kind of get that character development. Yeah, this movie just brings so many different elements, right? It's dramatic, it's funny, it's a coming of age story, and then of course with with all these characters, you get some of the some famous lines, right? Of course, the famous line, which some of you may or may not know, I'm assuming you all know, "You're killing me, Smalls," of course, comes from this movie. So we're just left with some, legendary moments that we'll never forget. Fun movie. Definitely going to make my list there, number 10.
"You're killing me, Smalls" is right in my frame there.
Nice. Yes. Catching the ball right in the ball. Okay, so yeah, that's a great film. It's a really fun film. I watched it actually for the 4th of July, I believe, this year. We watched that movie because there is the 4th of July does take place during this film as well. So it's fun. Fun film. Darren, why don't you give us yours, number 10 on your top 10?
All right, number 10 for me is North Dallas 40, released in 1979. Stars Nick Nolte, directed by Ted Kochev. Fox Sports mega personality and former columnist Skip Bayless said about this film that it is perhaps the most realistic sports movie ever made. It was based on former Cowboys receiver Peter Jent's novel about legendary coach Tom Landry's booze-guzzling, pill-popping, groupie-groping teams of the 1960s. Exaggeration? Nah. It had the ring of truth, said former Cowboys defensive end Pat Toomey. The difference back then was that the guys weren't getting caught the way that they are now. So, for me, this is a fascinating movie to watch in terms of its depth. The cautionary tales for anyone looking to pursue a career in pro football are really right on the nose. It pulls from the curtain back, so to speak, I guess, like no other movie before or since, on what really happens in these kinds of circles. It's funny, it's upsetting, it's sincere and sad, and I just think it's a great choice to kick off my top 10.
All right, North Dallas 40. Okay, let's move on. Kevin, your number 10.
Oh, well, I have my number 10 would be, to me, the best sequel of this particular famous series, and that is Rocky 3.
Whoa.
And Rocky, huh?
I said, whoa.
Yeah, I mean, what's cool about Rocky 3? Rocky Balboa had to be humbled. He just won the championship from Apollo Creed. He's feeling good about life. And he didn't realize that his manager, Mick, was actually throwing kind of weak opponents after him, for all the title defenses. And eventually, of course, we run into the great, iconic Clubber Lang, played by Mr. T. And, Mick tells him he's a killer Rock. He's begging him not to fight him. And, of course, his ego gets in his way. He fights him. Mick has a heart attack right before the match. He gets knocked out in round 2 because he's not focused. And of course, Mick, and one of his dying words is, "Yeah, I told you so." So poor Rocky, he's devastated. His trainer, his father figure's gone from his life. And then of all people to come into his life afterwards to get him going again, to recharge his life, is Apollo Creed, a man who actually respected him after their 2 great battles.
Yeah.
So he trains them differently. It's awesome. The great sequence on the beach where they're running together and training together. I mean, it's an awesome movie of a man who redeems himself, who had to find the fire, find the eye of the tiger to get back into the hunt.
Yep.
And of course, you can't forget the Hulk Hogan cameo appearance as well as Thunder Lips. That's pretty cool.
That's true. Too. That's true. He was great in that. Enrique popped in. He says, "Hey guys, hey Enrique."
Enrique.
Gabe just popped in. So hey Gabe, thanks for joining us. And he said, "Not Rocky 4, bro." And then he said, "Oh, okay, good point." So Kevin, you made your point. You told the story that needed to be told. Let's move on to number 9 on our list. Number 9 on my list is a boxing film. Guess what? Yeah. Shocker. This one is called The Hammer. Now, most people don't know what the hell this movie is. They've never seen it in their lives. It's a very indie film. Adam Carolla, this was near and dear to his heart to make this film, so he got to make it. It stars him as Jerry Farrell and his buddy that may or may not be legal from, I think it's from El Salvador. I think they're Salvadorian. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. It's been a bit since I've seen it. He plays Ozzy. And then there's Harold House Moore, who plays Robert Brown. Who plays Robert Brown. Now, Robert Brown is a star, a star boxer. He is a star in the making. He's going to be the best boxer, according to his manager, who is training him at this ring where Jerry happens to teach a kind of a defense class to people on the side. It's kind of a side gig because he does construction part-time too as well. So he picks up money where he can. Ozzy's his friend. He works in construction with him, and he helps him out sometimes in the ring as well. Well, this guy comes over, the manager, and he's like, "Hey," he says, "I see you, you box. You want to go a couple rounds with my boy here. Just loosen him up a little bit." And Jerry's like, "Yeah, sure." So Jerry and Robert get in the ring together. Jerry knocks the crap out of him. He just mops the goddamn floor with him. And so the manager comes over and he's like, "Holy shit, where did you learn this? How, you just knocked down the champ. This guy's going to be the greatest boxer ever, and you knocked him on his ass." And he's like, "Well, I always could take a punch." And he's like, I don't know, I'm just lucky. And he's like, "I want you to train with him, and I want you as well. And we're gonna go with whichever one of you is the better player is gonna be my guy for the title to play it out all the way to the championship." And Jerry's like, "Oh my God, holy crap, this is like my dream." So, you go a little bit further into it and things happen and stuff, but that's the gist of it. That's the whole basic element of the story. It's a really heartfelt story. There's a romance in there from somebody he's training in self-defense and stuff, and it's a really cute, very fun sports film that's under the radar that no one knows, that I saw at an independent theater. Can't recommend it enough. The Hammer, starring Adam Carolla.
Donald, I'll second that. It is surprisingly very enjoyable.
Thank you, Darren. Thank you. David, what's your number 9?
Okay, so my number 9 movie is it's a football movie, which you will see as a bit of a reoccurring theme on my list. It doesn't dominate the whole thing, but number 9 for me is going to be Jerry Maguire. Ooh. And I will say that, Jerry Maguire is not a traditional sports movie. But with that being said, it's still one of the best. So some of the stuff that makes it so great is it kind of gives you this really unique behind the scenes dive into, what football players' lives, what they go through to get a contract specifically. And then as part of that, you kind of get this unique perspective where you realize, there's obviously ups and downs in this movie, but what you realize is just, how crazy this journey is to become a professional athlete, that it's not always just about the game. It's about how much money you can make playing the game, all these kind of outside the box things that it really was just the first of its kind sports movie. It wasn't just about whether they won the big game at the end or what, he faced adversity. Jerry Maguire faces adversity. Cuba Gooding Jr.'s character faces adversity. It's a different kind of adversity, though. It's not the traditional sports movie. Goes without saying that, Tom Cruise gives one of the most heartfelt performances that he's ever given. And that's saying a lot because the guy's been in a lot of fantastic movies.
Yep.
I don't know if it's accurate or not, but I'm pretty sure he got nominated for an Oscar. I mean, this was definitely
that is accurate.
Yeah, so that might actually be one of his few Oscar nominations. So definitely a classic movie, and there's actually a classic line in the movie that in fact sums up the first time that I watched this very show, The Real Short Box Live. You had me at hello.
Nice. Nice. Also, you can show me the money too. That's what I yelled at everybody afterwards.
Always show me the money,
To keep us going. I'm like, show me the money. But Katie threw those out there too in the chat, so that's funny that you mentioned that, David. Yeah, Jerry Maguire, a movie so popular that they mass-produced it on VHS, and unfortunately had no idea what to do with all these extra VHS tapes. So somebody bought, like, they have the world's largest collection. There's like thousands of VHS tapes. And they made a throne out of Jerry Maguire VHS tapes with a Jerry Maguire wall, and they made a Jerry Maguire Pope hat out of all of the Jerry Maguire cassette tapes that you could wear and then set on the throne as a photo op, which I did. So that's a little bit of trivia on that one.
And real quick, one of the greatest pop songs ever to be on a movie soundtrack, Secret Garden by Bruce Springsteen. Fine choice, David.
All right, Darren, your turn.
All right, I'm going to go number 9 here with Iron Will, directed by Charles Hayde. This is a period piece about a great young man who is thrust into adulthood as he and his courageous team of sled dogs embark on a grueling and treacherous cross-country marathon. So Disney, in my view, is very good at these sports films that are set in certain time periods. This is the 1920s-ish, I want to say. Everything from like the costumes to the music of this era is pretty top-notch, and it is in a lot of Disney sports films. Definitely, for me, this is a very strong recommendation. It's inspiring, enjoyable, very artistic with its period costumes, props, set pieces, and you just can't help but cheer for this guy, Will. I mean, he really inspires many people in this film, and it's just a real feel-good kind of movie. And I just want you all to know that currently you can stream this on Disney Plus, and you definitely should if you haven't seen it.
Nice. Yeah, I'll back Darren on this one. It's one of those Disney films. You knew, like, you know, Disney makes good sports films. They make good films usually in general, but Iron Will was special. It was a sports film outside the box that you don't normally see. A really good story with a really good cast, and including the dogs, by the way. And the locations were beautiful. It's just a fun film overall. Very enjoyable. Kevin, what's your number 9?
My number 9 film is the classic 1993 film Rudy.
Ooh, Rudy.
I love it.
I mean, what can you say? This is something that's so inspiring. I mean, this guy overcame so much adversity. Mr. Daniel Rutiger. I mean, first, a friend gets killed in a horrible accident. He has not mental issues, but he's dyslexic, so he had trouble getting into Notre Dame initially, but he wouldn't give up. Of course, he doesn't have the physical features or statures for a big-time football player. So it's just one thing after another, and he just would not quit. And then, you know, the end of the movie where his teammates, he gave them their respect, and he's able to get on the field for a couple of plays on special teams and another play on defense. And, you know, everyone's carrying him off the field. I mean, it's just inspiring. It's great. You know, it tells you that no matter how bad things get, no matter what the odds are, if you just have faith in yourself, you just keep pushing yourself, it can be done. Dreams can come true.
And Kevin, if I might add in there, the director of that movie, David Anspaugh, directed 2 great sports films. I will not mention the other one, as I'm sure it will be on one of your lists. But I've been tossing this back and forth for years. The score in the movie Rudy by Jerry Goldsmith, it is on pace and might even surpass the great Bill Conti with his score in Rocky. And as far as sports movies go, I mean, those are the heavyweight scores right there. And I just wanted to take a moment to put emphasis on that score is just so awe-inspiring.
Yeah.
And I know that my parents who are watching this right now are huge fans of Rudy and are very grateful you put it on this list.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Bonnie is a little less grateful that it's a number 9 on the list, Kevin. She's making that known. She's only number 9, Kevin. Gabe says Rudy is good, though, so Gabe's got your back, Kevin. Don't worry about it.
I mean, it's a top 10, but it's okay. I mean, it's not. It doesn't mean it's like not worthy of number 1 or number 2.
Let's go to number 8. Now, number 8, I got to do something for number 8. So, gentlemen, just bear with me here.
Oh God!
That's right, everybody. We are talking about Lincoln Hawk. We are talking about Robert Loggia. We are talking about Over the Top.
Yeah.
Yes, the only canon film made about arm wrestling as a sport, and by God, is it fun. Man, is it fun. I tell you, there's a guy that drinks motor oil in this right before he challenges you and whoops your butt. Stallone playing Lincoln Hawk. What a great name. Oh, I'm Lincoln Hawk. I just want to get my kid back and take care of things, So then he does the arm wrestling thing. Him and his kid are on the run from his evil grandpa, Robert Loggia. Stallone wasn't a good dad at that time. Lincoln Hawk wasn't. But he wants to prove that he can be, so he takes his son on the road with him to these arm wrestling competitions in his big rig. And it couldn't be more America, let me tell you. It's great. And let me tell you, you got to go over the top when you arm wrestle, gentlemen. You got to go over the top. You can't wrestle underneath. You can't do that. You got to go over the top. That's the only way to win. So, my number 8 is amazing. No denying it. Stallone, over the top. Watch it. Okay.
All right.
Quick comments, real quick. Enrique says over the top with an exclamation point. He must have saw the hat turn. And Gabe says, oh, he has the hat on backwards. LOL. Jarrett says, if you turn your hat backwards, you get stronger. Jarrett, it is true. I actually can flip this table that my laptop's on now, where I couldn't before. Bonnie says, I remember seeing this at the New Bev with a Q&A with a kid, now grown up, of course. That's awesome, Bonnie. I did not know they did that there. And now I'm sad I missed that. So there's that. But anyway, David, you're number 8, sir.
All right. Well, nice little segue into mine. You mentioned that your movie had some America elements. I think that my number 8 has a lot of those elements. We're gonna throw on Varsity Blues at number 8 on my list. That's the background, as you can see. So although this movie undeniably has a number of frat boy elements to it, it also does in fact paint a very good picture of just how crazy football can be in the South, specifically in the state of Texas, where the movie does take place. It's a unique movie because it glamorizes the game of football, but it also demonizes it all at once, right? So you've got James Van Der Beek playing the rebellious quarterback who, his dad expects him to be the football star. And then you've got John Voight puts in an amazing performance as the abusive head coach that asks way too much of his players. These kinds of things. And what you end up with is an awesome movie. It's got unforgettable scees. The whipped cream scene comes to mind, of course, but that's neither here nor there. And it just really kind of it glamorizes the game of football. It has that kind of element where you think, these guys are living this kind of this unreal life. It has elements of American Pie in the sense that there's this fantasy party life that we all know isn't real, but nonetheless it's fun. And it balances very well comedy and drama. So it definitely goes down on my list as a top 10. Not a super high top 10, but it's on the list nonetheless.
It's a good film to choose, Dave. It's a very solid film, an MTV production in conjunction with Paramount Pictures, I believe. Just whip smart, fun, great soundtrack, by the way. Green Day, yes. Come on. And what was it?
Foo Fighters.
Foo Fighters. Thank you, Darren. Jeez. Yeah, Green Day, Foo Fighters. Just a great film overall, great soundtrack, a lot of fun. So, Darren, let's go ahead and move on to you. Oh, real quick, everybody. My mom has showed up in the chats. Everybody say hi to my mom.
Hi, Miss McKinney.
Hi, Mom. And now we're going to go to your number, I believe, 8, Darren.
All right. If you would mind posting a photo up, Maestro.
Sure.
My number 8 is going to be The Program. It's a personal favorite of mine, actually, when it comes to collegiate sports films. The Program stars James Caan, Omar Epps, Halle Berry, Craig Sheffer, and the lovely Christy Swanson. Directed by David S. Ward. This movie, the first time I heard about this movie, it was actually stirring in controversy. When it was initially released,
yes.
due to a scene in which the team was reading a Sports Illustrated article while lying down in the middle lane of an interstate. This actually led to people copying this in real life, and sadly, it ended in fatalities.
Yeah, really stupid. You can see the deleted scene on YouTube, though, for those that want to know. I did watch it last night.
I saw that in the movie theater. Yes, they put
nice.
it after the theater. Okay, so the reason this one's on my list is because it was very realistic in terms of what the sound of a football game is like on the field. The camera angles are very innovative. We have incredible sound mixing. Speaking of sound, great dialogue. Most notably, this movie was known for revealing what it's like to play NCAA sports. Everything from illegal payments to players, boosters violating collegiate rules, players cheating on their exams in order to stay eligible, and so on. The drama that exists with the team off the field includes everything from addiction, drug usage, painkiller usage, the players' mostly impoverished upbringings. The program, it covers it all, but you know what? It does also include lifelong friendships, love stories, and inspiring triumph as well. And Omar Epps, who plays the character of Darnell Jefferson, personally is one of my favorite sports movie characters. His relationship with Halle Berry is a classic. It actually holds up very well today. I just watched it last week. It was surprising how well that held up for me. Strong recommendation if you've not seen this. Covers all the bases of a great sports film. You laugh, you cry, and I guarantee you will be completely satisfied. So go check out the program.
It's terrifically exciting, according to the poster.
It has some pretty awesome scenes and paints a nice picture of what roid rage looks like in real life. So.
Yeah, it does. Kevin, what's your number 8?
It actually happens to be the same movie.
Oh! Let me bring the picture back up. All right. Real quick, Kevin, what's your take on it?
I mean, I don't have much to add, really. It's just Darren is right. It gives you a depiction of college football, you know, for what goes on, the darker side to things, the controversies, the illegal payments being made, drugs, you know, so forth and so on, all kinds of nasty things that go on. But also it's a thing about brotherhood and about bringing a team together. That's it.
Yep. All right. Okay, so we're going to go to number 7. Number 7 on our list, moving right along. Number 7 is one, love it or hate it. Some people love it, some people hate it. But I found it to be quite enjoyable. That would be Dodgeball, true underdog story. Stars Vince Vaughn. He is playing... who does Vince Vaughn play? What is he? I think he just plays... I can't remember his name now, I'm sorry. But anyway, him and Ben Stiller. Ben Stiller is the owner of a gym, of an opposing gym to Vince Vaughn's, whose gym is failing. Now, in order to make money to save the gym, him and a ragtag group of people join a dodgeball league in order to win the ultimate prize, which is over, I think, just over $50,000, or enough for them to save the gym that they can continue to go at and that they all love. But Ben Stiller's the bad guy. He wants to purchase the gym, turn it into an evil gym. So, you know, you have some crazy characters. You have Justin Long. He plays Justin, who's just a weirdo in it. Alan Tudyk, he plays Steve the Pirate, who literally just acts like he's a pirate through almost the entire movie. It's a very funny role for Alan. I'm sure he had a ball doing it. Stephen Root was in there. May Stapler. He played Gordon. And Rip Torn, who plays Patches O'Houlihan. And he is kind of their mentor, so to speak. If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. Dodgeball's a great comedy. It's a lot of fun. And yes, yes, Sean, he just put in there, if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. So we know exactly. We're in sync here, buddy. Bonnie says, I love that Ben Stiller was basically reprising his role from Heavyweights. That's true. Actually, Bonnie, I completely forgot about that. Enrique says, you made me bleed my own blood, with exclamation point. And then Gabe says, that's right, boy, get it in there nice and deep. So, okay, so it's a fun film, a lot of good times, and that's why it is my choice at number 7.
Such a bro movie. I love it. Good
Yep.
choice, Donald.
Yep. And Dave, your turn.
All right. So my number 7 movie, and this one's going to resonate with Donald pretty closely, is Major League.
Yeah.
So what goes without saying. For those of you that don't know, Donald is a big Indians fan, so
Yep.
this has got probably a little specialness. We might end up seeing that on his list.
Rob in the chats, because Rob, suck it if you're in the chats. You know why, Dan.
Yeah, Rob, we don't want any chatter from you, all right? Just keep it down over there. Pipe it down. But it's really hard to make a list of sports movies without including Major League. It's just a quintessential sports movie. And, part of it is that I'm certainly from the generation that grew up with this movie. So that's part of it, admittedly. But this movie did have the luxury of being before its time in the sense that, America hadn't already seen a million sports movies about a gang of bandits that becomes a championship caliber team. So it was ahead of its time in the sense that it kind of cashed in on that storyline before it was really popular. It might not have been the first to do it, but it was definitely, in that first wave of movies, that was all about the team coming together. They lose at first, then they win. There's bumps along the road. But, obviously delivers some really, really classic performances. The first that comes to mind is obviously Charlie Sheen as the Wild Thing. That will go down as just a legendary character in movie history, really just period in movie history. And, other characters like Tom Berenger playing the old vet that's washed up, comes back. I don't remember the name of the actor, but Corbin Burnson was his, or I guess it is Corbin Burnson.
Yeah.
Roger Dorn.
Roger Dorn plays Corbin Burnson. Thank you, Darren. Really,
Sort of.
really good character. Classic. Wesley Snipes, of course, just chock full of like immense talent in this movie that came together and made one of the greatest sports comedies of all time. So Major League has to be on the list.
So much it had a couple sequels to it. The Indians getting to be the brunt of the joke on this. Actually, the joke was on everybody else because it ended up making the Indians kind of popular there for a while. And people rooting for them again, which was great. And I was already an Indians fan, so it was nice to see a little love for the Cleveland Indians. So I appreciate this movie very much. Thanks for bringing it up, David. Darren, what's your next one?
Number 7 for me is going to be Mystery Alaska, directed by Jay Roach, starring Russell Crowe, Lolita Davidovich, Hank Azaria, and Burt Reynolds.
Written by the Ally McBeal dude, correct?
David Kelly.
Yeah.
Yeah, David E. Kelly. Yeah. So when this movie first came out, a well-known critic once referred to this actually as the Rocky of hockey. That's quite possibly the most accurate depiction of a movie I've heard. It's as much about the game of hockey as it is about being a citizen in small-town Mystery, Alaska. Just a simple breakdown for those of you who haven't seen it. One of the citizens of Mystery, Alaska has moved on and became a popular sports writer, played by Hank Azaria. In his infinite wisdom, he devised a plan to get the New York Rangers to come out and play the Mystery, Alaska local town hockey team in an exhibition game. You're talking multi-millionaire professional hockey players squaring off against a team comprised of the local grocer, the local doctor, and factory workers. This is like a great blend of comedy, drama, and sports action. I think that it does all of those things absolutely perfect, which is so rare and hard to come by. And hockey, by the way, what really is at the base of this for me is that Mystery's main sport, hockey, is actually their identity and their biggest source of pride. So if the Rangers were to come in and just crush them, it would crush the town's pride, which I think really raises the stakes of this movie. And if you can, this movie's becoming kind of harder to find, but make sure you don't miss it if you haven't seen it before. A high recommendation from me, Mystery, Alaska.
If it wasn't on Darren's list, if I didn't know that he put it on his list, it would also be on mine. It is, in my opinion, the best hockey film of all time. It's phenomenal. It's got every moment of, they just wring out every moment of juice in this thing. I mean, it's just firing on all cylinders. It's a beautiful film. It makes you just ride that emotional roller coaster all the way to the end, and you'll love every character in it. It's a really fun, really good film. Highly recommend it also. So thanks for bringing that up, Darren. Kevin, what is your number 7?
It's going to be Cinderella Man.
Another Russell Crowe film. How about that?
Yeah. It's another underdog story. Great Irish-American boxer from the Great Depression era. The poor guy has a broken hand. He had to stop boxing for a certain period of time. And, he decided to get back out there because he's working as a longshoreman, trying to feed his family. And he just gets a string of victories. And then finally he goes against the heavyweight champion of the world, Max Baer. And a shocking upset, one of the greatest upsets of all time. He actually beats Max Baer. So it's just a man who's suffering, going against tough odds, adversity, and he overcomes. And in the movie, the way they set it up is Max Baer is like this killer. He killed like 2 other boxers. So of course, they're hyping up and say, oh my God, he may not make it. He may not live. If he may not survive the fight. But of course, he does. And it's a great dramatic movie directed by Ron Howard. And it's a fun movie. It's a good movie.
Kevin, if I can throw in here, one of the things that I really like about this film is it captures the absolute brutality of boxing in the 1950s.
Yeah.
People don't understand. That people were paying a nickel to watch 15 rounds of beating.
Brutality. Brutality. Absolutely.
And let's not forget the amazing Craig Barrico playing the villain in this film. The boxer that just wants to demolish Russell Crowe in this. Just obliterate him. He does a phenomenal job. And Craig... he'll disappear and reappear here every 100 years or so. I believe he's a vampire, but I'm not 100% sure.
So I talking about Craig Burko?
Yeah.
Burko?
Yeah, he's great in this. He plays a great villain, and he does a really good job of bringing out the wonderment and the excitement in the film, particularly with Russell Crowe's character. So it's really solid. Kevin, I'm glad you brought this one up.
Of course. You're Irishman. I know you would appreciate this.
It's true. Hey, beer. Hey. There we go. Okay, number 6. Number 6, guys. We're talking about Charlie Kenton. We're talking about Real Steel. Now,
wow.
Sports film. Yes, it is. Don't argue with me. I slap your mouth. 100%. It is a sports film. Okay? Hugh Jackman plays Charlie Kenton. He is a boxer. Used to be. Not anymore. But he was great. And he's fallen on his luck. He's made some bad bets. He's not doing really well. This is basically over the top with robots, guys, in a way. His son's around. He wants to be a good role model for his son. By the way, this film has about either 5 or 6 Marvel heroes in it, Marvel characters that are currently in the Marvel Universe. This film has Hugh Jackman, of course, who played Wolverine, Evangeline Lilly, who plays Wasp, Kevin Durant, who was also in Mystery Alaska, who played the Blob, Anthony Mackie, who plays Finn in this, but he is also the Falcon. And a couple more, if I recall. There's a couple more characters. One of them plays, I think Dakota plays young Thor at one point, if I'm correct, also in one of the films. And then one of the other characters plays somebody's mother, I think, in one of them too. So there's 6 or it's insane how many people from this film. But anyway, it's a sports film. Hugh Jackman they find this sparring robot. The kid really believes in it. They find it in complete a hole that they can use and fight with. And the kid starts using it, but he needs to train the robot in moves. So then that's where Hugh Jackman, his dad, steps in and goes, hey, I guess I'll show him my moves. So then he does the boxing moves. The robot emulates him and learns from him. Using his moves then, they start winning games, and he starts winning bets again. And him and his kid become really close. And then there's danger. There's, guys coming after him for money. There's will the robot be destroyed? Kids in love with the robot. Kids in love with his dad. I have never in my life sat in a theater filled with children that kept quiet the whole damn time until I watched Real Steel. And I'm not kidding. This movie is legit, guys. If you haven't seen it, see it. And if you don't cry or at least get emotional during the trailer, you're not human. Like legit, watch the trailer and you'll want to watch the movie. I can't say anything else about it. It's great.
Hey, Donald, I want to throw something out real quick. So before I was going to bed yesterday, I was actually watching The Twilight Zone on Netflix. And the second episode of The Twilight Zone I saw for the first time. It stars Lee Marvin, and it is about a future in which boxing is outlawed, and they made a boxing robot.
Wow.
This is freaky stuff here.
That's cool.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, man. Real Steel is legit.
It's a great sports film. It's a great film overall. David, what's your next choice for number 6?
Well, let me just do a little reaction there and say that's certainly quite the hot take. But you did make me half a believer, we'll say, about Real Steel. So I respect it.
Thanks.
But yeah, my number 7 actually kind of ties in with what was my honorable mention. And for those that weren't on, I did not include Rocky on my list. And the reason that I didn't was because I do find that movie to be a bit fluffy. So, this movie that I'm picking for number 6 is actually Raging Bull, which is definitely more my kind of boxing movie. And really just my kind of movie in general. I might be a little biased because I'm a big Scorsese fan. I also think that Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro have what might be one of the most legendary on-screen chemistries together in film history. So, obviously, again, there's a little bit of bias here. But with that being said, this movie is very, very, very deep. And it's not your traditional sports movie. This guy, the character that Robert De Niro plays, Jake LaMotta, he's very good at boxing, but he's very bad at life. And you kind of get this really unique view into, that being a high-paid athlete isn't all that it's cracked out to be, right? And as Scorsese does, he always gets really deep into these, the human emotions and psychological, say mental health, these kinds of things. Because this guy, this De Niro's character is just a monster of a human, right? I mean, he has domestic abuse issues. He's jealous. He's got rage, and that's what makes him a great boxer. And these aren't the kinds of things that you see in a lot of movies. Normally it's, like I said, a little bit more fluffy, and the character's likable, and he's a hero, and this kind of thing. This guy is no hero, right? And in fact, the movie ends very darkly, and but it to me it just resonates as one of the greats, because you kind of get this unique perspective into sports and boxing in particular, and that it's not always unicorn rainbows for these guys. It's actually can be very difficult, no matter how much money or success they see. So this is definitely an all-time great for me. Gritty and real, and therefore very high on my list.
David, I would say this film should have been titled "Did You Fuck My Wife?" Instead of Raging Bull, because that's all De Niro says in the whole damn film. He just keeps accusing everybody of sleeping with his wife. So for me, I would have changed the title. But tomatoes. I will say it's shot beautifully. It's very pretty, and it's a very good case study on anger management and what not to do. So it's a dark film. It's super dark film. Darren, let's go ahead and move on to your next film.
Well, I'm just going to quickly say with it, it's the second movie on my list, directed by David S. Ward, who also did the program. Mine is Major League. I have nothing to add that David did not add. So how you feeling, Kevin?
All right, moving on. Kevin, what's your number 6?
It's going to be Any Given Sunday.
Ooh la la. Okay, gotcha. That's a big one. That's it's not a De Niro film, it's a Pacino film, right?
A Pacino film. And also, I'm actually technically in the movie as an extra.
Oh, I see why this is number.
Yep, and when one of the stadium scenes, because I went to school in Miami, so they asked students to come, to fill up the Orange Bowl during certain scenes. So of course I was there. So I actually was sitting behind Layla Rashawn, I think that's the actress's name, who played Willie Beeman, Jimmy Foxx's girlfriend. So it's pretty cool.
That is very
What
cool.
what I like about this movie is it's kind of like the times passing you by. You know, Al Pacino, he's an aging coach. He's running the same old slogging offense. They bring in Aaron Eckhart to be like the offensive coordinator and eventually push him out the door to be the next head coach. You have Cameron Diaz, who's the new owner of the team and general manager. He's in conflict with her. Of course, you have Jamie Foxx playing Willie Beeman. He's the third string quarterback after Cap Rooney gets injured. He takes over. And, he's a cocky guy. He's changing plays, not, getting with the program, so to speak. But eventually, things get together. They win they get together, they win games. And of course, Al Pacino makes one of his great speeches in the locker room, talking about fighting for that inch, clawing for that inch, killing for that inch. It's great. I love when Al Pacino just goes off into one of these tirades, one of these great speeches. So it's fun to watch.
Kevin, I'd like to add to Any Given Sunday, this is quite possibly the best cast I've ever seen in a movie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so many people. Charlton Heston plays not the NFL commissioner, he's like it's called another league, but he plays the commissioner of the league.
I mean, you've got Cameron Diaz as the owner of the football team. You have defensive players played by Lawrence Taylor, coached by Jim Brown.
Jim Brown, that's right. Can't forget that.
James Woods is the dirtbag medical doctor. I mean, this is like
Cool J's the running back.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And Elizabeth Berkley is a prostitute.
That's true. It's almost like they took that character from was it Showgirls and just transitioned it over to that movie.
That's probably where they got the idea. They were like, who could we use? Oh yeah,
also,
that girl.
Laura Holly plays like a terrible, terrible lady.
Oh.
My goodness. She plays Dennis Quaid's wife, who's like the original first string quarterback, and she doesn't care about him. She's like, you got to get back out there, you got to play. He's all injured. Doesn't care about him. All she cares about is like her position in life and the money.
Yeah,
but she does a good job.
And David, I know you like hot takes. This is Oliver Stone's last great movie, in my view.
Well, I thought you loved Alexander.
All right, we're gonna move on from this.
Die.
Who's Your Yoder is in the chat section now, so everybody say hello to Who's Your Yoder. And also, Derek Armijo popped in and said, win the Super Bowl and drive off Hyundai. So I think he's looking for a gold digger.
You're top 5 now, Donald. Holy.
We're on number 5. My number 5 was David's already. I chose Varsity Blues. Not much else to say. Whipped cream, whipped cream, whipped cream, whipped cream, whipped cream, whipped cream, and whipped cream. So that's my number 5.
That sums it up.
Yeah. David, your choice for number 5?
All right. So my number 5, I did go a little bit back and forth with this movie because I whether it is, officially a traditional sports movie or not, I don't know. I'll leave that up to the audience. But I chose The Fighter as my number 5. And, at the end of the day, it is technically a sports movie because it's about boxing. Mickey Ward's obviously played by Marky Mark. And, he's playing a failing boxer that, is kind of failing both at the sport of boxing and really in life in general. And that has a lot to do with his family, who kind of holds him back. I mean, everyone in the family. The mom is always bickering at him. Obviously, goes without saying, his brother, Dickie Ward, who's played by Christian Bale, actually, he plays a crackhead in the movie, and he actually convinced me that he might have really been on crack. I think Christian Bale actually did that. So that's,
Yeah, Bonnie agrees with you. By the way, David, she says it's a solid choice. So you've got support. You're good there.
Yes. So but with that being said, onto the Christian Bale, to kind of focus in on him, he was in fact by a long shot the best actor in this movie, and for me it was actually one of his greatest movies. He did win the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor, and I think you could make the argument that he could have actually been nominated for Best Actor, because he had just as much screen time as Mark Wahlberg, and he gave pretty much, in my opinion, one of his best performances, which is saying a lot because he's been in a ton of movies and a ton of really good movies as well. But
wasn't
this movie?
Wasn't Melissa Leo in this as well, or am I wrong?
She was, and she won the Oscar as well. So I mean, this movie was obviously chock full of talent that was awarded heavily. I don't believe it won Best Picture, but the actors really cashed in on it. But just to get back to the movie, one of the reasons that I like it so much is that it kind of shows that how sports can, it's not just about did you win, did you hoist the trophy. It's actually sports, including in this case boxing, can really bring people together, and it can help them fight their own demons. Obviously, in this movie, we watch really, to me, the story of Christian Bale fighting his demons. Mark Wahlberg's the boxer, but they really bond together. And, Christian Bale kind of pulls himself out of the ashes, if you will. And it was a really beautiful movie. And to me, it does, symbolize sports and how they can pick people up and be positive. So it was fun. Definitely
Super solid choice, David. Walter says, "Oh snap, David is on." So Walter recognized that you're on there, David. So we're going to go ahead and move on now to Darren's number 5.
All right, my number 5. Oh, it always feels good to present this. Necessary Roughness. It's directed by Stan Dragoti, starring Scott Bakula, my buddy Hector Elizondo, Harley Jane Kozak, Kathy Ireland, Jason Bateman, Sinbad, and Robert Loggia. So Necessary Roughness, for those of you who don't know, is an epic sports comedy based on the Pony Express scandal at Southern Methodist University and the death penalty that was issued for their college football program due to excessive and defiant NCAA violations. Hector Elizondo, he plays Ed Straight Arrow Gennaro, by the book coach who is hired by the fictional Texas State Armadillos to return integrity to their football program. With all the prime recruits, of course, long gone, Ed and assistant coach Wally are left with a 40-year-old rancher at quarterback, a ROTC war fanatic at fullback, a speedy wide receiver who can't catch the football, excuse me, a Shaolin monk at middle linebacker, and an astronomy teacher on the defensive line. Like Major League, the laughs are plentiful in this one, folks, especially from Rob Schneider, who plays the team's announcer who spends most of his screen time in utter disbelief of how bad the Armadillos actually are. It's on this list, so of course I'm calling it a must-see. Laughs aplenty with this one. Maybe, honestly, the funniest sports movie I've ever seen.
It's really good. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember loving it, particularly because when I was a kid, I loved Sinbad. And he was in this movie, and I was like, I'm watching this movie. So I made my parents rent it so I could watch it. It's fun.
Absolutely, Darren. Agree. And this one almost cracked my list. It was even in the honorable mention mix. Very good movie.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, Kevin, what is your number 5 film?
Hoosiers.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay, Hoosiers. All right, tell us about it.
It's a great story, a small town, Indiana, Hickory High School. You have the great Gene Hackman playing Norman Dale as a history teacher and high school coach. He basically has to overcome a lot of things on the team, kicking kids off the team, bringing kids back on the team. The small town politics. They want to throw him off the team at certain points. Bringing in Cletus Summers to help out, and then the kid Jimmy Cheatwood coming back on to the team to help them push into the playoffs and eventually win the championship. It's one of those great dramatic classic movies from the mid 80s, but of course the story took place in the 50s. What can you say? I mean, Gene Hackman, the rest of the cast, Barbara Hershey, Dennis Hopper. Great movie from back in the day.
Hey, Kevin, so this is also from David Anspaugh, who directed Rudy. And I just wanted to ask you if you could just go into it a little bit. Dennis Hopper was nominated for an Oscar in this. Could you just go into maybe just how great he is in this movie?
I don't know to say. He's just wonderful. You can tell me how great he is in comparison. I mean, you give it down, Dennis Hopper. Dennis Hopper is great just about everything he does.
Yeah. Fair.
I will just mention it, for the sake of the conversation. I haven't seen Hoosiers in many, many years, but I do know that, there's some sentiment, particularly Spike Lee came out and was critical of the movie because he thought that, that there was a typical story of, these kids from Indiana, these white kids that play the quote unquote undisciplined black team and end up beating them. And that, Spike Lee wasn't all about it. So I thought that was at least worth mentioning, as there is some controversy in that movie. It's a little controversy, but just a little something.
Praise a great alcoholic.
All right. So we're gonna move from that to our number 4. Now, Chris Turner, if you're not on here, I swear to God, I'm gonna fly to Texas and I'm gonna drag you out by your ear in front of your computer so you can watch me do this. This is my number 4 film. We are talking about The Mighty Ducks, baby. Yes.
There we go.
Emilio Estevez with a host of little snot-nosed brats teaching them how to play hockey. There's farting, there's camaraderie, there's a bunch of nonsense. It's great. It's a great film about a ragtag group of losers that get shown that they can perform in the Flying V, of course, and destroy the competition. It is a lot of fun. It is a heartwarming film. It's a Disney film. It is so popular that they created a hockey team based on this movie. There is an NHL hockey team based off this movie. That is how awesome this movie is. The Mighty Ducks, number 4 on my list. I don't know what else to say. Everybody knows this film. It was so popular it spawned a cartoon series and a comic book, which is where we always tie that into with the Real Short Box, cartoons and comics. So very happy to have this on my list and at number 4.
And 2 pretty decent sequels, Donald.
Yes. 2 very, very solid sequels, which is rare for the 90s for sure to have solid sequels, or a lot of them anyway. David, what's yours?
Well, I'm going to throw it up right there. My number 4 movie is A League of Their Own. So this is a really, really awesome movie. It's actually set during World War II, which is kind of the backdrop of the story. Gina Davis obviously stars in this movie. Her husband's away at war, and she's kind of recruited to this women's baseball team that, it was unique because they're trying to kind of carve out their spot in sports culture, if you will. And this was really kind of, we're watching a movie about women's sports, almost in a sense taking shape in America. And there's just a lot of really good scenes and actors in this movie. I mean, I know you guys have been naming some of the actors. I mean, this movie has Madonna, Rosie O'Donnell, Tom Hanks, obviously, coach. He played like the alcoholic coach that at first doesn't really take the ladies seriously. And he's kind of that grizzled guy. Gives a great performance, probably one of his better performances, which again is saying a lot from a guy like Tom Hanks. There's an iconic scene that always stands out to me where Gina Davis is, playing catcher, and she has to try and catch the attention of America because they're just not getting fans in the crowd or anything. So you guys probably remember the iconic scene where she catches a fly while doing splits and ends up on the cover of the magazine. And I still love that scene to this day because it's very odd that even to this very day, sports hasn't changed that much. It's almost like sometimes female athletes get paid attention to for like the wrong reasons, and it's like we're still incapable of just appreciating women play sports, and that's just kind of like it kind of told that story. But the character development in this movie is extraordinary. Obviously, you may or may not know, Lori Petty plays Gina Davis's sister, and just a great movie that culminated in my opinion of one of the greatest sequences of any sports movie to end the movie. Ending is just absolutely epic, and it involves a back and forth between Lori Petty and Gina Davis. And as some of you might remember, Lori Petty, she was in fact Tank Girl, so that might give you an idea of who we're talking about. I thought that might be relevant to the show.
Yes.
Probably some Tank Girl fans.
That's a very good reference there, David. And I also forgot to mention real quick on the Mighty Ducks that they're doing a Disney Plus series that's coming out really soon. So those that love the Mighty Ducks, this is coming out this year. Probably in the next couple months. I think April or something is when they said it was coming. So it's coming very soon. I just did a drive-in movie for A League of Their Own for my birthday. and Bonnie was there actually for that, and Kevin, and it was a really great time. We had cookies. We had a fun time watching A League of Their Own again for the first time in a long time. I think for a lot of people, out in your car watching it on the big screen. It was great. Bonnie also said that really quickly. Taya Leone's first role. She had a very small part as the second base for the Racine. So.
Yeah, that's actually coming back to me now. Now I do remember Taya Leone in that movie. Yeah.
Yeah. David, check your phone when you get a moment if you're not checking your texts. And we're going to move on to Darren, your choice for your next film.
Well, so Mom, if you're still up, she just actually sent me a text. She was hoping this would be at number 1, but it is going to be at number 4, and that is Warrior. Do you have an audio issue here, guys? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
I can hear you fine, Darren. It's just there's a little background. It sounds like a TV on in the background or something. So
okay.
I'm not sure.
So number 4 is Warrior, and Maestro, if you wouldn't mind putting up a picture of this one. This is directed by who I would call the modern-day savant of sports cinema, Gavin O'Connor. This movie stars Tom Hardy, Joel Edgerton, Jennifer Morrison, and Nick Nolte, who was nominated for a Best Supporting Actor Academy Award for this film. So Warrior, it's the story of the dysfunctional Conlon family and their journey to a mixed martial arts tournament guaranteeing the largest cash prize in MMA history, basically, mixed martial arts. On one side, you have an AWOL soldier who teams with his recovering alcoholic father to train. On the other side, you have a family man with a wife and 2 kids who will team up with a coach he hasn't seen in a decade. They both need the money for different reasons. And what this movie, for me, does so well is it makes you conflicted as to who you would rather see win the grand prize. So I called him the savant. And the reason I do this is O'Connor's sports films get a lot of high praise because he strikes, in my view, a perfect balance between human interest drama and exceptionally well photographed and edited sports action. Warrior's not only brutal in its octagon and in-ring fighting action scenes, but it's emotionally brutal in its acting performances. Nick Nolte, for me, might arguably do the best work of his career in this film. He creates such an intrigue with his character that he commands the attention of the audience about as well as you can as an actor. In my view, it's a masterclass. Tom Hardy, as usual, making a bold choice with his character, and the rest of the movie it just generates a lot of excitement and a lot of energy. Taking place, shot in location in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Warrior's about as great as it gets in this genre, folks, and you should have seen it when it came out, but if you haven't, you definitely should be seeing it.
Yeah, look at those 6-packs, guys. I mean, come on. That's what we all aspire to have. But unfortunately, there's beer. So, go figure. All right, Kevin, why don't you go with your next one?
Yep, simple. The same thing as David. League of Their Own. I'll just add a simple fun fact. Penny Marshall had initial interest in casting Demi Moore in the part of Dottie Hinson, but she was pregnant at the time. So, of course, good old Miss Gina Davis got the part.
That would have been not nearly as good, I don't think. Gina Davis just oozes
she kills it. She kills the part.
Hometown pride in farm girl cuteness. I don't know what else to say. She's the perfect choice for that character. You can't get any better than Gina Davis as playing Dottie Hinson. So great film. Glad you both chose that one. It's really solid. We're gonna go next to our number 3 choice. Our number 3 choice for me is it's not Tin Cup, Sean. I'm sorry. It's something I consider to be a better golf film. It's Happy Gilmore. So we're talking Adam Sandler is Happy Gilmore. This is one of his earlier films, of course, and he's amazing in it. This is Adam firing on all cylinders, being the Adam Sandler we all know and love, in a film that's written smartly and very funnily. It has such a great story to it. He's trying to save his grandma's home. She's going to get kicked out. So he's a hockey player. He's terrible on the skates, but he can hit. Boy, can he hit. So somebody's like, why don't you try golf? So he's like, okay, I'm going to try golf. I got to try to win my grandmother this money. So he tries golf, and guess what? He's great at it. He's not good at the putting so much. And that is where one of our friends pops in. Carl Weathers plays Chubbs, pops in to teach him how to be good at mini golf so he can putt the balls into the holes and take care of business. So Happy Gilmore, Christopher McDonald is a great villain, plays Shooter McGavin. Overall, it is, Dave, you're right. It's an absolute classic. Bonnie, yes, tap it in. Just tap it in. Tap, tap, taroo, tap it in. Just tap. And not to mention, Adam Sandler as Happy Gilmore's fight with Bob Barker and kicking each other's ass on the golf course is probably one of the most amazing fight scenes that you never thought you would saw. That you would
there was a rematch of that fight. You know about that?
What do you mean?
They had a rematch, but it was like in a hospital room. They both were like in a hospital bed, so they had a rematch. Bob Barker and Adam Sandler. It was pretty funny.
Was it in the special edition, or what was it?
No. It's like something they did for some comedy sketch. I can't remember what it was for, but it was pretty funny. You can look it up on YouTube. You'll see it. It's pretty funny.
No, I've never seen that. So I'm gonna have to Google that, dude. Thank you. Have to look that up. So number 3 on your list, David.
All right. How's my audio? You guys hear me clear?
You sound real clear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Sorry for those technical difficulties. Number 3 is a movie that we've already discussed, but I'm just going to go ahead and bring it up again. It's Any Given Sunday. So this movie is also on my list, and I consider it obviously as number 3 an all-time great. As Kevin alluded to or was talking about earlier, Jamie Foxx plays Willie Beeman, a hot shot quarterback that plays under Coach D'Amato, played by Al Pacino. So, as we discussed, this is an all-star cast. Certainly to me, Pacino and Fox are really what stand out. Pacino's they've got two different dynamics going on, right? Like Pacino's the aging coach and Fox is the rising star. But this movie, it's a great football film, but it's also great because it's, both funny and dramatic. It has awesome funny scenes, but it is I would classify it as more of a drama, right? It highlights, what I kind of see as the destructive path that money and fame can bring upon players. And I touched on this earlier with one of the other movies, but also just the nature of football, how the game it'll chew you up and spit you out, right? It's a violent game. You get injured, you're out. It's the nature of the beast there. And just, to Kevin's point, the locker room speech by Al Pacino is not only one of the greatest sports speeches, but really just one of the greatest speeches in a movie. It's one of those you could throw it up on YouTube and, you just feel the inspiration coming through your screen for Pacino. So awesome movie, has to be high on the list.
So Dave, what lies right now with the 3 inches in front of your face?
6 inches, actually.
That's right. And as you know, Darren, it's a game of inches. But I will tell you guys, one thing to pay very close attention to. If you haven't seen this movie, there's a locker room scene, and there's a hidden gem in the locker room that you don't want to miss. In fact, it's very hard to miss, and I'll just leave it at that.
Oh, come on. If it's what I think it is, David, you're a sick man.
Well,
It's a penis, isn't it? It's a penis. It's always a penis with David. All right, moving on. You're number 3, Darren.
Well, I just got a message from my mom saying I did a very good review of Warrior, her favorite. But, Mom, there are 3 movies that are actually better than Warrior on my list, and one of them is actually from Gavin O'Connor, the same director of Warrior, and that, of course, is Miracle. Gavin's making it right back on my list right away. This is probably my favorite sports film of this century, released in 2003. Kurt Russell playing Coach Herb Brooks in the true story about the 1980 United States Olympic hockey team. featuring the famous semifinal game known as the Miracle on Ice against the former Soviet Union. So one of the most interesting choices O'Connor made in this movie is to cast real hockey players and teach them how to be actors, as opposed to casting actors and teaching them how to play hockey. Disney, of course, as you know, once again, top-notch at capturing time periods in sports classics through costuming and scenery and music. The opening credit sequence of this movie is one of the most effective I've ever seen in any movie. It goes through the previous decade, year by year, showing our national instability and emphasizing how badly Americans needed a team like this to cheer for. It's a very patriotic film. The hockey game photography and editing is just top-notch here. Russell giving one of his best performances, and the use of Al Michaels and Don Dryden's commentary from the actual 1980 Miracle on Ice game against the Soviets really made this one of the most realistic and engaging sports movie experiences I've ever had. And I think if you take a chance, if you haven't seen this, and sit down and watch it, you'll probably agree.
Yeah, it's really good, really solid film. I remember seeing it in my local town back in Ohio when I watched it for the first time in a small theater, and really enjoyed it. Pretty much anytime you put Kurt Russell in a film, I'm going to be there in the theater to watch it. And you put Kurt Russell in with a hockey story, in with something that actually happened, that is motivating and just pure, inspiring. It's a great combination. So it's an excellent choice, Darren. And Kevin, we're going to move on to yours now.
My number 3 is the original Rocky film. I know it's fluffy for Mr. Denenberg, but hey, I like this fluffy classic.
Much respect, nonetheless.
Rocky is what Raging Bull wanted to be.
Everyone's seen this movie. This is about, again, one of those ultimate underdog movies. It was based in somewhat of a real life story of the boxer Chuck Wepner, who went 15 rounds with Muhammad Ali before losing. Just a scrappy guy who's bleeding all over the place, just taking hit after hit, just not giving up. And it's just great inspiration. You think about the stairs where he's running up the steps, he's throwing his hands up in the air, the training methods, of course, Mick again, you got to get it, Rock. You just love this stuff. There's all these great quotes from that movie. Definitely one of the all-time great classic films. Although the funny thing is, I thought there was one movie that was better than it in 1976 that actually should have won Best Picture, but that's a story for a different day. But
well, just say it really quick. Say it really quick.
Just tell.
Network.
I'm going to go into this actually, maybe too.
Okay. All right. Next one. All right. That's our number 3. Number 2 on the list, guys. I love this film so much. It is a David Zucker directed and partially written film. It is starring the creators of South Park. We are talking about basketball, everybody. A sport that doesn't exist is on my top 10 sports list. Not just on it, but at number 2 on my list. We are talking Matt Stone and Trey Parker, or Trey Parker and Matt Stone, or Parker Stone and Trey Matt, however you want to go with this. They are genius in this film. I don't know why they didn't do many films to come. I think South Park just took too much of their time. This is a story where we have 2 guys that are kind of losers go to a party that they weren't really invited to, of some former classmates who asked them, what have you done with your life? And they were like, well, we created a sport. And they make up on the spot basketball, which is baseball and basketball rules combined to make a very lazy sport that's basically just horse. But a lot of fun that they keep making up rules to and stuff, and becomes so popular that the neighborhood starts playing it, and that becomes so popular that they form leagues and become a whole franchise, basically a whole, like the NFL or the MLB or anything. They have the basketball league. And then that's where the evil Baxter Kane, played by the wonderful Robert Vaughn, comes into play, where he tries to convince them to advertise and pay for sponsorships and everything else to to dilute the quality of the sport and make it more like any of the other sports where it's all about the advertisements and about the financing. And that's not what they wanted. And it's a lot of fun. There's so many great moments in there. I would be remiss to not mention Yasmin Bleeth playing Jenna, Jenny McCarthy playing Yvette, and Dean Backer playing Squeak, who's a little bitch, by the way. I'm just going to throw that out there because they certainly do. It's a great, fun film. It's a fantastically done comedy by the Zuckers. I can't recommend it enough. It's number 2 on my list. It's extremely underrated. Sean, I'm glad you agree. Bonnie's giving me a high five. Chris is saying, yes, Queen. So we've got some fans here. Basketball. Check it out, guys. You won't regret it.
Jonathan, I'm actually really enjoying your list. It's been a little outside the box, which I think is great. A lot of your movies are fantastic. They're definitely all-time sports movies, and obviously we all have our different takes, but I'm
Right.
liking your list so far.
Thank you very
good.
much. Yeah, I try to think of a lot of funny films, and it looks like you've got one coming up here.
I do indeed. As you can see here, Caddyshack, just without a doubt, it's one of the greatest sports comedies of all time. This movie has so many classic scenes. Obviously the movie to me is kind of led by the charisma of Bill Murray. I know if Chicago Rob's still on, he will, completely agree with that. It's just got some of these great performances. Bill Murray plays the crazy greenskeeper who's feverishly trying to track down this gopher that's wreaking havoc on the golf course. Just very 80s, very funny. Chevy Chase gives a performance as Ty Webb that's just completely off the wall. I mean, it's funny, it's quirky, it's kind of Chevy Chase. It's a classic Chevy Chase role. And then, of course, would be remiss not to mention Rodney Dangerfield giving one of the most Rodney Dangerfield performances maybe ever. And again, that's saying a lot because Rodney Dangerfield always is off the wall, but this has got to be one of his most eccentric roles that he's given. And the movie as a whole, I think it perfectly captures the essence of the culture of golf. Not sure if there's a lot of golfers on the channel right now. Guessing not. So you'll just have to take my word for it. But it is very exaggerated. But it does kind of capture that essence of the game, the gambling, the banter, just the off-ball. It definitely it captures that, the essence of the culture. On my list, great comedy, great sports movie, has to be there, in my opinion. I'm glad that someone did it.
David, I'm not sure if you got a chance to see this or not. Maybe you have, but there's a great explanation of how this movie ended up getting made that you'll have to check out at some point. I mean, the script was not even complete at any point during the production, and what they were able to pull together and put together and make an all-time classic is truly one of the miracles of filmmaking.
Yep. Sean really quick says, wow, Rodney Dangerfield getting some respect. So Sean, yes, that's very tongue-in-cheek. Appreciate that. He also says Back to School is a great Rodney Dangerfield sports movie too. Sean, we actually did mention that earlier. I did mention that Back to School was diving was in there, and that was a sport as well. So yeah, definitely two. That'd be 3 Rodney Dangerfield films now because right. Bonnie also mentioned Ladybugs.
Ladybugs. Yeah.
Wow, Rodney Dangerfield has been in as many sports films as a lot of other people. Russell Crowe, for example. This is nuts.
And if you're into music, he does play an instrument in The Fifth Tenor.
Oh, yes, true. Kenny Loggins, I think, did the sound, the main theme for this Caddyshack song. Am I correct?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Yeah. That was great. When I was a kid, I loved watching that little gopher dance to that song. It was just brilliant.
It's fun stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Bill Murray's obviously, you still see him out there. He goes to Pebble Beach and does, he's still out there golfing. And, he really owned that. I mean, I feel like that role, for as much as Bill Murray's done, it really kind of stuck with him. He's carried it to this day.
Yeah, he has a good time with it. Darren, what's your number 2?
All right, so these next 2 on my list are far and away better to me than even my number 3. They're just so iconic. First one I'm going to go with here is Field of Dreams, based on the novel by Steve himself. This film stars Kevin Costner, Amy Madigan, James Earl Jones. It's directed by Phil Alden Robinson. Field of Dreams was nominated for 3 Oscars, including Best Picture, Screenplay, and Original Score. So what it's about is a former hippie, Ray Stella, is forced to settle down and become a farmer. He wanders out into the fields one morning and hears a voice say, "If you build it, he will come." Thus begins his long journey, plowing over his corn, and building a baseball field. A series of adventures and misadventures will then ensue that include a retired author, a famous small-town doctor, and the ghosts of former baseball players. So in the words of the character, Terrence Mann, the one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball. America has rolled by like an army of steamrollers. It has been erased like a blackboard, rebuilt and erased again. But baseball has marked the time. This field, this game, it's a part of our past, Ray. It reminds us of all that once was could be good again. Field of Dreams, it's like a love letter to the sport of baseball. Try to get anything, anyone to love you as much as Field of Dreams loves baseball. This movie is just magical. It's on so many levels. It's very touching. It's funny, highly engaging, unforgettable performances from Burt Lancaster and James Earl Jones, and an emotionally powerful score from James Horner. Field of Dreams, it's like the ultimate film-going experience for me, and could be the greatest film to me about sports ever made.
Kevin Costner, a lot of sports films. Lots of sports films, too. They're on par with Rodney Dangerfield as far as sports film.
Yeah, this is probably clearly his best, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. Field of Dreams is Kevin Costner's best sports film for sure. Kevin, what is your number 2 choice?
A modern-day classic from the year 2000, Remember the Titans.
Ah.
Wow, okay.
I mean, this is a powerful film, a very poignant film, especially for everything going on these last, 10 years or so. Denzel Washington, great acting as always as Coach Herman Boone. He takes over as coach at the racially integrated high school known as T.C. Williams High School in Alexandria, Virginia. And he's kind of given the essentially like a threat in a sense where if he loses one game, that's it. He's fired. So he's under pressure to bring this team of white and black players together. His assistant coach, played by Will Patton, Bill Yost, also at first was a little not happy about the situation because he had to be, under him. But eventually they said, yeah, we got to come together and make this work. And they do. The players at first don't get along, but eventually they become great friends. And of course, you have a quarterback named Sunshine, that is known for it, another quarterback, Rev. So it's just a great movie about camaraderie, about building friendship, building a team, and then going all the way and winning a championship.
Going all the way, Kevin.
All the way.
All the way, Kevin, I believe used to be your nickname in college.
You don't say. I didn't know that. That's news to me.
Everybody knew it but you, I guess.
I guess so.
Katie says Coach Boone came to my high school in Northville, Michigan, in one of my assemblies as our guest speaker. He signed my VHS tape of Remember the Titans.
Oh, wonderful.
That's really cool. Chris Turner says, one of y'all better have Karate Kid as number 1. Chris, why don't you suck it?
Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, Ryan Gosling has a part in this movie, too, for you ladies out there.
Oh, isn't that cute? He's 12, Kevin. 12.
And Donald, I forgot to mention earlier, in your film The Mighty Ducks, there is a role by a very young Jussie Smollett.
Oh, yay. Yeah, that guy. Everybody knows and loves that guy now. Evan Aldrich just joined us. He said, hey, dudes. Then he says The Mighty Ducks. Yes, Evan, The Mighty Ducks was already on our list. It's already been done, dude. Sean says, was Kingpin on anybody's list? I'm sorry to say, Sean, it was not. Bonnie says, baby Hayden Panettiere, too.
That's right.
That's right.
She played the daughter of Coach Yost. That's correct.
And, okay, so we are going to go with our number 1 choice. Now, we're going to go with my number 1 choice. I'm sorry I lied to you, Sean. My number 1 choice is Kingpin. It is a Farley Brothers masterpiece. There has not been a better Farley Brothers film. I will fight you out in the streets over this. I'm not joking. I will. tear your eyes out. I'm that passionate about this film. I saw it at least probably 10 times in the theater. I used to go to bed watching this movie every night, bits and pieces of it, until I would get tired and fall asleep. I don't know a better story of sports than a down and out bowler that really doesn't have anything left in his world, that just had sex with his nasty ass landlord. I don't know what it is about good sex that makes me have to take a crap, Roy. So we have, to just bring it, Woody Harrelson playing Roy Munson. Randy Quaid plays Roy Munson's protege, a young Amishman by the name of Ishmael, who he sees as his golden goose to get him to the competition in Vegas to win that $1 million check and be happy for the rest of his life. Along the way, they meet Vanessa Angel, who plays the character Claudia. She is a ringer, so to speak, or a distraction for a ringer at a private bowling alley where they go to try to make extra money. And she runs away with them and leaves her boyfriend, who becomes the main villain of the film in a way. We have Lynn Shay, who played the landlady, disgustingly played the landlady to a T. And, of course, we have Big Ern McCracken, played by another great film in sports, played by Bill Murray. Now, there is so much to say about this film. I love it so much. The story's amazing. It's about redemption. It's about love. It's about hilarity. It's perfect. It is the perfect film. It is my favorite comedy of all time, by the way, too. There is no comedy that tops this one on my list of comedies. I find this film to be hilarious. I find it to be heartwarming. They do get to Vegas, yes. What happens there, I won't tell you. But he does have, Woody Harrelson does have one hand in it throughout the film. He has a claw, and then he gets his prosthetic hand and he'll put it on so he looks pretty, and can bowl still, sort of. He ends up losing his hand because of Bill Murray and a nasty bit of side gambling they do with bowling. And it's great. It's a really great film. I can't talk about it enough. I love this movie. It's number one. Real quick, we're going to go to the chats. Sean says Lebowski is top 10 of all time, and then he goes, ha ha ha, so great. So he must have, yep, and he says we are in sync. So yes, Sean, we definitely are. Evan Aldrich says Lebowski, yes. He also says, Darren, I agree with you on Field of Dreams too. My mom says I always wanted his ball, the bowling ball with the rose that Big Ern had. Mom, I agree. That was, oh, man. Every time I would go to a bowling alley after that, I would pull the ball out of my bag like this and just parade around so everybody can look at my ball, because I did have a cool ball too. I called it my Evil Dead, or my Grateful Dead ball. It was like the Grateful Dead kind of Bears look on it, with that wavy kind of different colors, the red and the blues and stuff. I was always really proud of that bowling ball. Who's your Yoder, says Bill, and then David, I think we should start thinking about Bill Murray as a sports movie icon. Dave, I can't agree more. He's got to be up there with Rodney Dangerfield, Russell Crowe, and Kevin Costner for sure.
That's
for
right.
sure. But anyway, that's my number one, guys. I highly recommend, if you haven't seen it, please do. In fact, when this whole damn pandemic is over, if you want to watch it at my place, I'm always down. Definitely. So let's move on. David, what's your number one?
Yeah, well, let me jump into it. This was really, really hard to come up. I just want to take a quick moment to just relay to the audience how very difficult it was to come up with this list. Because, I mean, if you think about it, there's actually probably 300 sports movies or more, 300, significant sports movies. So this was more difficult than you might think. At first I thought, oh, sure, sports movies, no problem. But then as I got thinking about it, there was so many layers to it, right? You've got dramas, you've got comedies, you've got The Big Lebowski, so that, by the way, that's not number one. So without further ado, I couldn't quite do The Big Lebowski, but that's conversation for another day. Kevin and I are actually quite in sync, because Remember the Titans is my number one sports movie of all time. And for me, it had to be number one. Denzel Washington plays Coach Boone, who has, as Kevin was telling you the unenviable position of taking over as a coach for, a guy that had previously been the coach that was a white guy in a white community during the civil rights movement in Virginia. So, it's already just like this. He's facing this complete uphill battle. It looks like it's a total, he's not gonna succeed in this role. He's facing so much adversity, more or less. So, this movie, it not only gives you an intimate scope into what it takes to be a championship football team, because that's the other aspect of it. Yeah, sure, there's all the adversity that Denzel's character faces, Coach Boone, but there's more to this movie in that, like, as someone that, has watched football my whole life, played it a little bit in high school, this movie really shows you the hard work that it takes to become a good football team, the discipline, practice hours, all that kind of stuff, just the psychology of what it takes to be a good football team, those kinds of things. And it has this social aspect to it. So many moving parts. Denzel obviously is an epic actor, one of the greats of all time. So, he crushed it. And then it just has this really great message, the coming together story that in my opinion, they do it better than any other sports movie. I mean, as I mentioned earlier with Major League, we've seen I don't know if you'd necessarily classify this as a gang of bandits, but we've seen the story where the team gets together and wins a championship. We've seen it a million times, but this was still unique. They did that, but they did it better than any other movie's ever done it after we'd already seen countless amounts of sports movies. Too many good, great characters to account for in this movie. Simply the best.
And
Nice.
David, to also point out something I've been saying all night, another Disney sports film that takes place in a time period.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
A lot of that. All right, Darren, what's your
Disney-
number one?
Well, in the words of the Highlander, there can be only one. And this one should come as no surprise to anybody. My number one is Rocky. So it's directed by John G. Avildsen. Rocky is written by, stars Sylvester Stallone in the breakout role of a lifetime. Is there truly a better story of breaking into the industry than Sylvester Stallone with Rocky? I think not. Nominated for 10 Academy Awards, winner of 3 Academy Awards, including Best Editing, Best Director, and Best Picture. This is just a sports movie institution. You watch a sports movie that's been made since this and try to tell me how it's not in some way inspired by something in Rocky. Also stars Burt Young as Uncle Paulie, Talia Shire as Adrian, Carl Weathers, of course, as Apollo Creed, and the great Burgess Meredith as Mickey Goldmill. What can I really tell you about Rocky that you don't already know? What makes Rocky great to me is just how quotable it is. Why don't you take her to the zoo, Rock? Hey, Rock, screw you, creepo. Why do you fight? Because I can't sing or dance. Hey, yo, these are my turtles, Cuff and Link. Can't see nothing, gotta open my eye. Cut me, Mick. I could go on forever. This movie is so quotable. This screenplay is so outstanding. Rocky is actually one of the very few times in my life on this earth that a cultural phenomena is actually worthy of all of its awards and all of its praise. This movie, as Kevin mentioned, defeated Network, which is a generational film, to win Best Picture, and it's certainly worthy. I've been back and forth on this for years, whether it was worthy or not. It most certainly is. This film, it inspired 5 sequels, 2 spin-offs. Sylvester Stallone is the only actor who was or is filming 2 mega franchises simultaneously throughout almost his entire career between Rocky and Rambo. The characters are so memorable. You can't even picture these actors doing other roles, if you ask me. Talia Shire had a good role as Michael Corleone's sister in The Godfather, but I can't even remember her because she's so iconic as Adrian. The universe of Rocky is incredible with its characters, with its storylines, with its complications, its drama. This is, to me, the greatest story of an underdog and an American dream, the American dream through a sports movie I think I've ever seen. And I can't imagine anything surpassing it. I've seen this movie probably every year since I was 13 years old, and I'll probably continue to do so. This is not only like a feel-good movie. It's really well made. It's really well written, directed, acted. This is, to me, unquestionably the best sports movie ever made, with all due respect. And I will, I will keep it at that, as I have a feeling Mr. Avildsen might make another appearance on this countdown.
All right, number one, our last one of the evening. Kevin, you have the honors. And, sir, I hope you make it a good one.
It's Bloodsport with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Wow, I did not see that one coming.
No, I'm just kidding. Darren is right. It's the other great movie from John Avildsen, The Karate Kid.
Boom. Stephanie, time to shit. Said in the chat that she would shit.
I mean, just like Rocky, how that's a quotable movie, The Karate Kid's a quotable movie. No such thing as a bad student, only bad teacher. Wax on, wax off. Put him in a Johnny bag. I'm sorry, Johnny bag. Put him in a body bag, Johnny.
Kevin, real quick, how many times have you waxed off today alone?
0, sir. 0.
Oh, 0? Oh, okay. Well, you know.
I mean, this is great. You got this skinny kid from New Jersey driving in a beat-up car with his mom to the west coast of Los Angeles. I mean, he's getting into a new school, doesn't know anybody, meets a cute girl named Allie. He runs into Johnny, is with these guys, the Cobra Guy guys. They have motorcycles. They're tough. He gets himself involved in some business there between the old relationship between Allie and Johnny, and of course, gets whooped. And throughout the movie, he gets whooped and beat up continuously, his ass getting kicked left and right. And then this maintenance man who's working at his apartment named Mr. Miyagi they become friends. He teaches them karate. They become, it's just a relationship that's built. The most powerful scene in that movie, I believe, was actually that's what got him the Academy Award nomination, is where he's drunk, Mr. Miyagi. Pat Morita's drunk, and he's talking about his days in World War II, and also talking about, he sees a letter about his wife who had passed away and the child while he was away. I mean, so much going on here. It's a beautiful film. The tournament is great because he's an underdog. Even Miyagi himself doesn't believe that he's actually could win the entire thing, because even he was a little surprised. But, he did the little magic restoration to his ankle so he can get back out there and fight the championship against Johnny. And of course,
put all of his chi into it.
Yes, put all of his chi into it. And of course, that famous crane kick that got the job done. I mean, what could you say?
It's illegal. That's what I can say.
It's illegal. Cobra Kai talks about that. That's true. But still, the fact of the matter is, Daniel LaRusso, he deserved the victory. He got what he needed. He took care of business.
Freudian slip, buddy. You said Johnny first, so I think we know.
Kevin, what can I say other than John Avildsen can sure direct sports films that feature Italians?
Yes, that's true.
Bonnie says real quick, phenomenal score from Bill Conti, better than the Rocky score, in my opinion.
It's a great score, Bonnie. I'm not going to argue.
You can make an argument there. And of course, how can I forget Sensei Kreese, a menacing character?
Oh my God, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And how great is this movie that not only did it spawn 3 sequels, but it spawned a remake and a TV series that not only was made by YouTube of all places, but then was sold to Netflix and is now like number 1 on Netflix. It's a huge hit.
No surprise.
And they're continuing on and expecting to get 2 more seasons out of it. It's going to have 5 seasons.
At least.
Yeah, that's insane to me. And it's great, too. It's so good. It goes into the backstory of why Kreese is Kreese and why he's a piece of shit and why all these characters are who they are. And it just builds layer upon layer upon layer.
And they flash back to the 3 previous movies, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's so good. It's such a good movie. I can thank Bonnie. We went over to her place and watched the first movie before we watched the Cobra Kai series to watch the first season of it, I believe. I think that's what it was. And we watched movie number 1, and then watched the second season, I think is what it was. But it was so damn good and such a great time. I can fondly remember Kevin dressing in the shower that Bonnie had built, the costume of the guy in the shower, as I chased as I chased him down the road. It was in an alley. It's just, there's so many fun moments that you can bring forth from this movie. It's an 80s film, yes, but it's timeless. It's a classic. It's a great film to send ourselves off on. Real quick, guys, before everybody starts heading out the door and we start saying our thank yous, we want to mention our podcast next week. Next week is a very special podcast. It is our anti-Valentine's Day podcast. Now, I know most of you are all lovey-dovey on the 14th, but what about after the 14th? What happens on the 15th? Do we return things, flowers, roses, chocolates? All that stuff is very hard to return. So what we're going to be doing is something extremely special. We're going to be doing marry, sex, and kill. So basically,
What?
who would you marry, who would you have sex with, and who would you kill? And we're going to be doing that in the comic book universe. So we're going to be pulling out characters like, for example, Bruce Wayne. Kevin, real quick, would you marry him, would you have sex with him, or would you kill him?
If I was a woman, I'd probably marry him.
Okay. Well, you have to think of yourself as a man, Kevin, every once in a while. So go ahead and tell me what you would think as a man.
Wow.
Would you? And we'll say marry, screw, kill. That makes it a little easier. It's a little less, heavy for you. You'd still marry him, wouldn't you?
I suppose so.
I think I probably would, because there's a lot of money there, Kevin. And the guy's lonely. And the guy's lonely.
Yeah.
And he can have sex with whoever he wants. I'll be like, this is an open relationship, Bruce Wayne. You can do whatever you want. So see?
Wow.
This is going to be very fun, guys. It's going to be marry, screw, kill. And yes, Bonnie, it's MFK, but we're being a little more sensitive on that instead.
So real quick, David, I want to thank you for being with us. Did you have a good time here with us this evening?
It was a great time, guys. I really enjoyed it thoroughly, and hopefully I'll make another appearance sometime later in the year.
Yeah, thanks for being on, David. We appreciate it very much. And thank you to our audience for tuning in to the Real Short Box Live. We always appreciate you. We do these live podcasts almost every Monday on YouTube Live. You can join us. Join in the chats. Be very active. Also, you can find us, our audio podcast. We usually put one out a week. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on iHeartRadio. You can find us on Darren's favorite, Spreaker. You can find us on TuneIn and just a host of other podcasts, a wide array of podcasts that you can find us on. If you can't find us, let us know. Reach out to us. And we're also on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We post a lot of pictures of comic book acquisitions that we have, just fun little memes and stuff like that. We love you all here in the chats. Everybody that's joined us and is just watching and didn't chat, we love you too. Real quick, we have Who's Your Yoder? Said David was awesome. That's my sister David saying that. So there you go. Sean says nice to see y'all virtually, but in real time. My mom says night, gentlemen. Bonnie says bonsai. My mom says love you, son. Love you too, Mom. Kate says glad to see you, David. Great job. Yoder says night, boys. Evan says, and at Julio's mom's house. Yes, we'll see you there too. Kate says, you all were amazing. Have a great night. Sammy says, good night, gents. Thank you all for joining us for the Real Short Box. If we don't see you out and about anytime soon, hopefully we will see you sometime soon.
At the sweet, precious, kindly, gentle comic book shop.
Good night, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Take care.